A very good afternoon to all. I take immense pleasure in welcoming all the students for this exclusive webinar on unlocking the complicated yet exciting world of international studies. This is Flame Upskill is primary goal is to assist high school students in developing critical skills for their learning and growth. And in this series, you will explore areas outside of your courses, which will help build your profiles for higher education. So all the attendees, please note that whoever completes the entire session will be given a letter of participation, and you will receive the letter by next week. I will post a link to the feedback form in the chat section, and you must fill it in order to receive your letter of participation. This is a required procedure. I'll post the link at the end of the session. So today's session will be taken by our very own Professor Divya Balan. So Dr. Divya Balan is Assistant Professor in International Studies at Flame University. She holds a doctorate degree in European Studies from the Jawaharlal Nehru University, or JNU, New Delhi. She is a UGC-NET qualified international and area studies and has been teaching for the past 8 years. Her doctoral research investigated the immigrant integration measures taken by the British government during the post-multiculturalist phase of 2000 to 2010, taking Indian immigrants' cooperation to the UK as a case study. She is associated with the London School of Economics and Political Science and the University of Derby, the UK, on a short-term Europe Area Studies program grant to complete her thesis. Dr. Divya has also served as an international visiting fellow of the Institute of European Global Studies at the University of Basel, Switzerland in 2018. Dr. Divya has received several scholarships and grants and is also a member of several academic organizations. She has authored several timely opinion pieces in English and Malayalam for international, national, and regional newspapers and magazines, and also published research papers in edited books and reputed journals. It's a pleasure to have you amongst us, ma'am. I am really confident that the students will feel more knowledgeable by the end of this session. And over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this very, my own student giving me that introduction is altogether a different feeling. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, the team, to organize this particular session. Because I think, these kinds of sessions are really, really important in the sense that when, and that has something to do with my own personal experience of, I would say landing in this particular area of study, which is international studies. When I was doing my schooling, my 10th and 12th and everything, there was nobody to really kind of mentor me or give me the holistic idea of what this area all about. The only thing that I was interested at that point of time was I really wanted to be an IFS officer, Indian Foreign Service officer. This is a little bit of my story. I think that's a very good introduction for all of you and me to kind of connect and bond and have the conversation. So what happened was I really wanted to try writing UPSC exam and get into the diplomatic world and everything. So I was, very sure that I wanted to take a course that is related to writing UPSC for my undergraduate studies. At that point of time, it was political science that everybody was telling me that, especially my teachers at school was telling me taking political science would be a good idea. And I took political science for my bachelor's. It was BA in political science. While studying political science is when I got into a couple of courses which are international studies courses, and those courses I still remember. One of the courses was about international organization, where we discussed a lot about United Nations and European Union and all of those organizations. So I really kind of got interested in it, because in those classes we discussed a lot about what is happening in the world at that point of time. So I realized that it is very dynamic kind of a discipline that this international studies is, and that was my very first exposure. But again, at that point of time, I wasn't very sure whether if UPSC isn't working out, then whether this area will kind of, help me find a good job with decent salary and everything. So that confusion was there. And but then I took the chance, and I did my master's in international studies from Jawaharlal Nehru University, as Arishi has mentioned. And from then on, this is my larger area of research as teaching, as well as my academic study. So and I could see that when I was doing my master's or even bachelor's before that, there wasn't many universities in India having this particular course. But right now, when you, and I would say that, like, all of you are, who's listening to me, are actually in a more such courses that is being offered by all the universities, public and private. Flame University, we have a very dynamic, pragmatic, futuristic, industry-ready international studies program. We offer bachelor's, major and minor courses in this particular area. Yeah, so today what I'm going to do is, let me also share my screen. So my plan is to kind of give you a broad understanding of what international studies area is all about. Like I'll specifically talk more about the discipline, what this area of or subject or course, whatever way that you would want to approach this. So I'll kind of give you an introduction to what international studies is. I'll discuss what are the courses that comes within this particular area. I'll also discuss a couple of, I would say, career prospects that's there after doing your bachelor's or master's in international studies. And since, I'm teaching at Flame for almost 8 years now, and right now I'm the area chair of international studies, and I have seen how our own program have kind of expanded and advanced in terms of not just the number of courses that we offer in international studies, but also the kind of the techniques, I would say, the techniques of teaching that we introduce to this whole area, as well as our own students, a couple of students' experiences. So this is what I'm going to do, assuming that most of you are school doing your maybe +2, 12th standard. I think that's what's the impression I'm having. Is it so, Pradimna? Arushi, I hope I'm
Yes,
audible to
ma'am.
you. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, you.
Okay, yeah, sure. So let me begin with sort of giving you an idea what international studies is. As I have told you, this is a very recent discipline, um, in not just in Indian academia, but globally. The subject was introduced to the academic world only in 1990. That is at the end of the First World War. So you could see that it started in the very first university was established in the UK with international studies as a course or a program that offered. And then slowly it kind of spread to rest of the world, including the global South countries, India and rest of all the countries. So in that sense, there is always this kind of concern that what exactly is international studies, what are the subjects, what are the themes that we deal with it, how is it different from maybe other humanities and social sciences disciplines such as political science or public policy, etc., etc. So you could see that, like, public policy has, or even for that matter political science especially, has a long history of being an independent scientific academic study. Public policy is again, much more recent than, for that matter, political science. But then again, it has much more traction in the academic world, both in India and globally. So let me first address this question, what international studies is all about. When I say international studies, you could also see that many of the universities instead use the term international relations. So both terms are used interchangeably in the world of academia. At Flame, we use international studies, and there is a reason for that, which I'll be kind of sharing with you. This is basically a scientific and systematic study of the international system. So, when I say international system, I'm talking about 200 plus countries. We know that United Nations have 193 countries as member states. There are several other countries which are in members of United Nations. Around 200 plus countries are there. If you go to United Nations website, there is a link which listed all the countries in the world and the smaller islands which are administered by some of these Western European countries. So the number is roughly 200 plus. In this particular subject, discipline, international studies, we learn about these 200 plus countries. Then we also look at not just the states, but also non-state actors. When I say countries, we are talking about the government, the official system of governance there, administrative system, or the citizenship, etc., etc. But at the same time, in this discipline, we also look at non-state entities. When I say non-state entities or non-state actors, I'm thinking about multinational corporations. I'm thinking about transnational criminal networks, terrorist networks, for instance. I'm talking about space politics. I'm talking about also issues that is related to human rights, humanitarian activism, climate change, migration. It could be anything and everything is what is in fact the subject matter of international studies. And mostly again, there is a misconception that international studies is all about politics. But then let me clarify it in the very beginning itself. International studies is not just about studying the global politics. It's more than that. We deal with economics, we deal with diplomacy or foreign policy, as you know, we deal with security, peace and conflict resolution, and similar situations. We talk about law in this discipline. We discuss, study, analyze society, global society or world society, and the global culture. We talk about environment, environmental regimes, climate change activism that's going on, climate change policies that are in place at this point of time. All of this is part of international relations. So it's a very broad discipline in that sense. And I still remember, at Flame, we conduct these academic fairs. In the academic fair, usually like students used to come to me and ask like what IR is about, and I give a similar kind of explanation to them. And our students ask this, ma'am, if you are studying all of this, how can it be even possible to study and be master of all that you have mentioned? Which is a very genuine question, which is a very genuine concern as well. Because think about it, 200 plus countries and maybe that many international and regional organizations and entities and legal systems and societies and cultures and everything that we talk about. And on the top of it are the issues that, in the real time that's happening in the world. Right now, when we are having this conversation, there is war that is happening in between Hamas and Israel. I'm sure you already know about it. Russian invasion in Ukraine is still continuing. Something which again, our own life in the very recent past, something which we have not just witnessed but also experienced at a personal level was the COVID-19 pandemic. Many of your classes, at least for a year or a half, was online, right? So we got affected by a lot of events that's happening in the world, in this particular country as well. And international studies is a discipline that looks at all of it. So the concern is genuine that whether the broad nature of the discipline is actually helping the discipline or not. Let me address that question. But before going to that details, as I have mentioned, when you ask this question, what exactly is international about international studies? answer is plain and simple. Everything that is above and beyond the state borders. I mean, I can give you kind of, a mental mapping exercise. If I say India to you, what would be the image that comes to your mind? Or if I say, for instance, Pakistan, what would be the mental map, mental image that comes to your mind? Most of the time, I have seen that whenever I ask this question, I'll get the answer that, what you think when you first hear the term India. Many people have mentioned that it's a map of the country, the physical political map of the country that comes to their picture. Because, that's something which we are very familiar with when we think about India. Then comes national flag, then comes our national anthem, then comes even our currency, all the symbols of this nation. But that maybe the very first image of a map, in fact, is what is India, or a country for that matter. Borders matters. Borders defines the legality of a state. India is not beyond Indian borders. And that's also the reason why we have territorial disputes with Pakistan with regard to Kashmir. We have issues with China with regard to Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh. You might have done this in your social studies courses and programs. And these border issues are actually, the reason is because, that actually defines what a state is. So when we think about international studies, everything that is above and beyond the state, for instance, India's relation with United States of America, that comes within international studies, because we are looking at a transnational relationship, and this relationship could be political relationship. Political in the sense that if our Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits US President Biden, that is diplomatic relations that I'm talking about. So the relation could be political in that sense. It could be trade relations. There are free trade agreements between India and United States of America. So that's economic relations that I'm talking about. There are social relations between countries. There are cultural relations between countries where our artists go to other countries to perform. Cricket matches happens, like friendly cricket matches happens. That's also part of international relations. Then World Cup itself is the Cricket World Cup is going on, so that itself is international relations in that sense. Similarly, think about climate change. You are affected by it, I am affected by it. Similarly, the people who are there in the in Africa or in Latin America or in Central Asia are also affected by it. So I'm talking about that in international studies. Whereas when we look at the state level politics, economics, etc., that is another discipline, which is what is called political science. So this is the basic difference between political science and international studies. Political science deals with what happens within the state, within the boundaries of the state, whereas international studies, it's beyond state borders. Say, for instance, you are planning to visit, I'm assuming Paris would be a place where you all want to visit. By that assumption, if you are taking a Schengen visa and going to Paris, that travel itself is international relations. There is a very interesting concept called cultural diplomacy, where people-to-people interactions and engagements amounts to strengthening states' relations. So that's something which we discuss in international studies. So and the issues that we deal with in this particular discipline is in fact are issues that everybody gets affected by such issues. As I have already mentioned, climate change, pandemic, I have mentioned already. Pandemic isn't something that happened in India or only in China, Wuhan, but we could see that there was that's also the reason why it's called pandemic, right? So that is what is the international within the international studies. At one point of time, our area discipline was specifically looking at only the state actors. That was roughly since 1648 to 1990. That was the time period where most of the time, like, the studies, the researches that has happened in this discipline, everything was about state, or states for that matter. But you could see that 1991, our focus has shifted. And currently, we look at not just state actors, but as I have already mentioned, also non-state actors, international organizations, that's IOs, ROs are regional organizations, international law regimes, international governmental organizations, international civil society organizations, MNCs, corporations, companies, etc., etc. Those entities who runs transnational businesses. Everything is right now within this discipline, which gives you a really huge, I would say, advantage and opportunity to focus on areas of your interest. And I think that is what is this discipline, or the benefit of this discipline itself is, because it is such a broad area. You can actually specialize in one of the sub areas within this discipline. It might be slightly confusing. Let me clarify that. In my own case, maybe I could kind of tell you. So when I joined for my master's, it was very generic Masters in International Studies. So similarly, if you are planning to explore Flame's International Studies program, you will see that it's a generic International Studies bachelor's program that we are offering. Because bachelors are not for specialization. Specialization starts with the masters. So right now, bachelors, when you look at, it's a very generic program where you study, for instance, theory courses, because this is an academic discipline. I already have mentioned this is a scientific and systematic study of the world. So, to study something scientifically and systematically, you should know the methods of study. So there are courses which we offer, research methodologies, theories of international relations. Then you studies, conflict and peace studies. You will have security studies courses. You will have international trade relations courses. You will have foreign policy courses. You will have area studies courses, which are, say, European studies, or American studies, or Chinese studies, or Southeast Asian studies, etc., etc. So in my case, when I was supposed to, decide a major or specialization for me, I have decided to specialize in European studies. So that is a sub-discipline within the larger international studies discipline. And this itself, there is this broad area, which is international studies. And there are so many sub-disciplines. Like, as I have mentioned, European studies or peace and security studies, etc., etc., that itself shows, one, how dynamic this discipline is. Second, how interesting and exciting it can get. Third is also, the opportunities that then these disciplines and sub-disciplines can provide you in terms of your future studies, your higher education, as well as your career prospect. That's, maybe kind of an introduction to all of you about this discipline. And again, something which is, I always consider, the focal point, or I would say what makes IR unique from several other disciplines. Is it's not just its dynamism, but also, you could see that it is not just a field of study. But this is something which, international relations, global affairs is something which you and me all the time participate in and contribute. And that on a very daily basis. Think about it, the computer that you are listening to me, the Zoom technology that we are hosting this particular session, your mobile phones, the accessories that you are using, maybe the clothing brands that you use, it's all transnational and multinational. So international is in that way in our everyday life. So this is something which we are directly affected on a daily basis, and we are actually studying about it. So that's pretty interesting. And also, I could give you another example, which I have already mentioned, COVID-19 pandemic. There was this concept called pandemic vaccine diplomacy. So vaccine diplomacy is, by understanding the then political scenario, several countries, especially India, we have offered support and aid to several other countries in need of vaccine. We have exported our vaccines, not for profit, to these countries. Basically, we help them strengthening their healthcare system. And through that particular action, in fact, India has strengthened its political diplomatic relations with those countries. That's a very interesting way of doing diplomacy, I would say, because ultimately when you have trust with enough trust to cooperate with another country, then obviously your cooperation will be multifaceted. You will cooperate in economic areas. You will cooperate in, say, political fields. You will cooperate in art and literature. The possibility of cooperation is more than. When there is more cooperation, that's when the ideal world of no war and conflict will happen. The world of peace will emerge out of such kind of a cooperation. I know I sound very ideal to when I listen to myself, it sounds very ideal. Right now when we talk about peace, war is going on the other side of the world. So but then the idea is this, that we are all striving for, the whole global community is striving for peace, and this is one subject which directly talks about all of these developments and the developments which impact us, influence us on a daily basis. Think about you planning to do your master's in a foreign university. That is what is called cultural diplomacy. Or you are taking up a multinational, transnational job, which entails a lot of traveling across the world for your job purpose or business purpose. That is international relations. Social media that we use, all of us can't kind of stay away from phone for, I think, more than a minute. All the applications that we use in our phone, that is international studies. So this is one subject that really helps us have a better understanding of the world. It really makes sense of the world better, and I think that's very important. Like to have an informed life is also, I would say, an empowered life. So that kind of an empoweredness you will be getting when you kind of do this particular discipline, international studies. Also very interesting questions you will you will be asking when you further study the discipline. Most of the questions are how and why questions. Like, we are trying to understand what is happening in the world, right? So usually how we understand what is happening, we ask questions, we pose questions, we try to get answers, we try to find answers. That's also your exams, I know. And ultimately, that's how we make sense of the world or sense of what we are doing. So there are such lots and lots of how and why questions that we pose in this particular discipline. Some of the examples I have mentioned, you might be familiar with these events that has happened in the recent past or still ongoing. For instance, Israel-Hamas war is ongoing. Brexit has happened, and you have seen how that has affected Britain as well as the organization from which it has exited, which is European Union, right? And also we have seen the impact of not just political impact, but economic impact, environmental impact, trade impact, even socio-cultural impact of Brexit on Britain as well as European Union. So these are the how and why questions that we generally ask in this discipline. So if you could read the poster that is there on the right hand side, if you could read it, I'll give you 30 seconds. And this is US President Joe Biden saying that he won't let Hamas or Putin like tyrants to win. There is this question, who is America to kind of, give such statements? what is the stake of America in what is happening in Europe or in West Asia or Middle East. Or how and why America is behaving in a certain way. Recently, we have hosted G20, which we have seen most of us have watched it, the events live on television and social media platforms. So what is the reason, rationale behind us hosting G20 event in India? How have we even kind of hosted it? Like, what were the processes? How we have planned it? I'm sure, like, some of these G20 officials might have visited your school, might have given kind of a presentation on what G20 is. You might have participated in several of the competitions related to G20. I don't know, story writing or painting or essay competitions and, all of that, right? So, as a discipline, this is something which we are interested in. In the nutshell, what's happening in the world. Also, say, for instance, give you an example, something which we very closely kind of observe is how the world is kind of covering the current ongoing Israel-Hamas war. We look at, which media is giving what kind of news. Is there any biases? Is some newspaper supporting Hamas and some newspaper supporting Israelis? How is it? That's something which we kind of look at. And we also look at it from a historical point of view, because to understand what is happening currently in the world, you should have a historical understanding of what's going on. So that historical context is very important. That's something which we do in our discipline. I have mentioned that the discipline was established in 1919, post First World War, when League of Nations was formed. I'm sure you have done it in your social studies. But this is the university, the pictures that's there in the right. That was the university where international studies was very first established as a discipline. It's in the University of Aberystwyth, Wales. And then on, you could see that several of such international studies departments have been started in universities all across the world. It's a globally sought after discipline and course right now. Focus was, you could see that there is always this focus on war in the discipline, because the idea, since, as I have mentioned, this discipline was formed in 1919, end of the First World War. War was a major kind of obsession, and that obsession is coming from the obsession for peace, actually, because we don't want conflicts to happen in the world. So we are looking for solutions. We are looking at why wars happen. For example, what is the reason behind, what is the historical reason behind this Hamas-Israel war that's going on. We try to understand, the current scenario better, so that we can avoid similar occurrences in the future. Is what is the idea of this discipline. So then think about it. You're actually, by studying, by being an expert in this area, you're contributing to world peace. You're actually contributing solutions to the global issues. And that's pretty interesting. Like, you feel like you're placing yourself in the discipline, and you're navigating along with the discipline, navigating some of these issues and questions. And I think that makes this discipline really, really interesting and exciting. But remember, the title of this session is the complex but yet exciting world of international studies. It's very exciting, it's very dynamic, it's very lively, but then it's very complicated as well. The reason why it's very complicated is, one, we cover everything, as I have mentioned, like 200 plus countries, plus organizations, plus legal regimes, plus everything that I have already mentioned. Plus, as a discipline, this is a very multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary subject as well. Multidisciplinary in the sense that, as I have already in fact mentioned, this isn't just about politics. It's about economics as well. Psychology is also part of international studies. If you're interested in psychology, there is this particular area within IR, which is called political psychology, where it looks at the psychology of the leaders of the state, and try to understand, the rationale behind some of the decisions that they have made, or some of the policies that they have formulated and implemented during their time. So that is what is, the psychology of the leaders, or political psychology for that matter. For instance, why Putin is Putin. I mean, he's always like, projected as the representation of crude power and security and everything. So what is his psychology? Or say psychology of Hitler during the interwar and Second World War period. I would say the psychology of our own political leaders. So that's another interesting aspect that we could explore in the discipline. There are so many specialization which I already have mentioned, but I have just charted it here. Foreign policy studies is about, that's something which I would wanted to get into when I was doing the course. That's about relations between countries. Then there is international political economy, which specifically deals with trade and finance and international trade and international finance, etc., etc. International history will give you the historical understanding of what is going on in the present, in the current and current scenario. International law is about not domestic law. We know that in India we have a law and order system, right? There is CRPC and CPC and everything. I'm sure if you drive two-wheelers, maybe you might not be having license, right? Okay, not driving, maybe something else, like, think about different rules and regulations that you have to follow. Not the school ones, but then outside of the school, the general rules and regulations that you have to follow. That's CRPC and CPC, Criminal Procedure Code and Civil Procedure Code. That is domestic law. There is something called international law as well. When we deal with other countries, if a dispute occurs between two countries or more than two countries, then we have an international legal system which resolves such disputes among the states. So that is international law. Similarly, geopolitics. Geopolitics is another exciting, subject area. It's about, say, for instance, I mean, if you can think about India and our neighboring countries, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, etc., etc. So when you think about those countries, we could see that there is a very specific politics that is there among these India and neighboring countries, which we call South Asian countries. So, there is a specific South Asian politics there. And that, when you look at a region's politics, that is what is called geopolitics. It's actually a combination of two words, geography plus politics, hence geopolitics. It's also called political geography, where it looks at the geographical positioning of the countries and how such geographical positioning, in fact, affect economy, politics, law, climate, etc., etc., etc. Area studies I have already mentioned. Area studies is basically about different areas of the world. I have a map here. So you could see that this is what area studies is. We have divided the whole world into different areas for the ease of study. This is also, I have already mentioned that I'll address this question, right? Like such a broad discipline, how can it be even possible to study or make sense of the subject matter of the discipline? So one way we do it in this discipline is we divide the world into different regions. As I have mentioned, I have specialized in European studies, where I have looked at Western and Eastern and Central European countries. Excuse me. I also have looked at European Union as an organization, because that's one of the major organizations from that particular region of the world. Similarly, if you're interested in South Asia, you could study South Asian studies. If you're interested in China, Korea, etc., etc., you could study Southeast Asian studies. If you're interested in America, there is American studies. So there are these area studies courses as well. So the spectrum is really, really broad. And that, again, as I have mentioned, it really helps you to kind of, position yourself as per your interest area. And it need not be, I mean, it isn't at all an issue that you haven't done political science or any of those social sciences courses in your school. That doesn't matter. for bachelor's, in fact, like, bachelor's is for bachelor's is more like a foundation program in the case of international studies. But I'm sure, like, there might be certain areas which really have, interested you. You might be, you might not be very much interested in physics, part of space programs. But then within international studies, there is an area called space diplomacy, where you could look at it from an economic, political, again, all of those dimensions, but not maybe physics or from the calculations point of view. So this is I just wanted to kind of give you the understanding that this is the breadth of the subject, or the scope of the subject is really, really wide, where you can actually identify your interest area. It's very unpredictable for that matter. Like, that the war is going on right now, Hamas-Israel war, but you don't know when it will end, or it will ever end or not. When I say that, in fact, the root of this current war that started somewhere in the middle of 20th century. There were a series of wars that has happened in Israel, Palestine, that region. This is one of the longest continuing conflicts that's in the world. It was in 1970. I'll just give you a kind of a overview. 1917 is when British declared a Balfour Declaration, where UK government has said that there should be a natural home, a national home for Jewish population in Palestine. And that is when, Jews from different countries migrated and settled in different countries. They started moving to Palestine. This was in 1917, 1917. The very first riots happened in 1920s. You could see that Israel as a state was established in 1948. 1964, things become really, really complicated. 1967 was when the first wars were fought between these two powers. It's called Six-Day War and Yom Kippur War and everything. You might have, since this is an ongoing, current issue, I'm sure you are familiar with some of these terms. You might have listened to, all of this in news or in social media, in shorts or whatever app that you use for keeping yourself informed. So think about it, what is happening in 2023. It has started long back, sometime in the middle of 20th century. So we know the history because it has already happened, but and currently it's going on, and we don't know what the future of it. Whether the war will end there, whether there will be a very effective peace process being negotiated or not, whether there will be a solution to the problem, we don't know. So there is a lot of unpredictability as well, which makes the subject very, as I told you, complex, but then exciting. It's a very functional discipline in the sense that it's real time, real world issues that we are dealing with. And there is all possibility that, as an expert, you might provide solutions to some of these issues as well. There are examples. There are so many examples that I could think of. In India, we have a very specific tradition of international studies. I don't know whether you are familiar with this book, Kautilya's Arthashastra. I think as students of any discipline for that matter, need not to be social science, humanities, or any of those disciplines, but any discipline that you that you are interested in, I think one classic book that all of you should read is Kautilya's Arthashastra. Arthashastra means the science of economics, but it's not just again of economics. It contains everything: how to rule, how to how to administer provinces, how to collect tax. It has everything. It's kind of like the book of Indian administration. And for that matter, it is also the book of international studies in India. There is a similar book called classical work called Niti Sara, written by Kamandaga. In India, we started international studies as a proper discipline for the first time at Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. School of International Studies. That's where it started in India. Right now, as I have mentioned, we have international studies courses all over the country, private and public universities. You could see that, there are these courses available. Again, just to kind of give you what we do at Flame, international studies at Flame focus on, honing you that kind of skills that help you to be industry ready. So when I say industry ready, it could be, again, a wide variety of industries that I'm talking about, from administration to public policy to trade to financial management to HR to journalism to law to, think of any profession that you want to be in. And international studies or understanding of international studies will really help you to kind of get there and be, and I would say stand out in your area. Ours is a very rigorous research centric program. And also we appreciate different standpoints in our class discussions and everything. So ours is more like, discussions and deliberations kind of pedagogy that classes that we would be having. Obviously exams are there, by the way, but still, it's a lot of conversations that happen. It's a lot of discussions that happens. We as a class, including me, the faculty, we sit together, we read, we discuss what we read. So it's really kind of like, that kind of a very I would say personalized touch is there in the program that we offer. We kind of give a very generic courses within international studies as well as specialization courses as well. For instance, theory, research methodology, those are general courses. Specializations like European studies or security and peace studies, those courses also we offer. Those are specific specialization courses. This is a list of courses that we offer at Flame. I'll be sharing this PPT with all of you so that you can take a look at it. Basically, these details are also available on our website. If you're interested in this area, I think you should explore this. We offered some around 24 courses, plus another 12 to 15 elective courses as well that we offer. Every semester would be different courses that we would be offering depending on availability of faculty, etc., etc. But we offer a lot of courses in international studies, and these courses are in fact of international standards, because again, as a subject, we are dealing with what is happening in the global level. So our courses are also in that sense, comparable, matchable, and globally relevant as well. And it's a wide variety of courses that we offer. We have major minor combinations at Flame where you can major in international studies, at the same time minoring in, say, literary and cultural studies if you have an interest in writing, creative writing. Also, you can minor in journalism, for instance. You can minor in digital marketing, for instance. So there is a wide variety of major minor combination that's available with international studies. We are a set of 5 dedicated faculty at the area. We are very approachable all the time. So I think, after this session, if you have any questions, I mean, I'll try to answer as many questions as possible after the session. But in case if you have further more questions, or at any point of time you're thinking of taking international studies as your, subject, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll ask the team to share my email ID also with you. So we are an accessible, very accessible, in fact, and dedicated faculty. We share the excitement with the students when we teach, when I don't know, we organize events for our students. So we are like an equally excited bunch of faculty that we have at international studies area. We make sure that there is enough breadth and depth to the discipline that we offer, because we wanted our students to stand out when they go out for masters or PhD programs, or to go to in the career fields, various fields, including companies and analyst firms, etc., etc. And also our courses are a blend of I would say theory as well as practice. Also, we regularly update our curriculum. So we have AI and ChatGPT elements included in our curriculum. That really helps us have simulations in the class. So we really make use of the technology that's available. Also, since this practical experience in the field is very important for somebody who has done a course in international studies, we also have signed a lot of MOUs with a lot many international universities where our students go for semester abroad program for 6 months. Students from those universities come to Flame, for the same one semester. And that's the international exposure that we are talking about. We also encourage our students to go to national and international conferences where they can present their research work. So we support our students financially as well, in the sense we'll provide them with fellowship, etc., etc. So there is a very well functioning support system at Flame, where the learning would never end in the classrooms. It's always I would say beyond classroom and beyond classroom process that we are part of at Flame. But then let me clarify this as well. We also have a very India focus courses that we offer at our area, and the reason is because the rationale for that is actually, think about it, when you go to foreign universities for a master's, being there, you would be an Indian student there. And those university, maybe the professors there in that university would want you to have kind of a better understanding of how Indian system works, and contribute that to the class discussion that's going on in that particular university courses, etc., etc. So we know that this is one way that our students can stand out by having a very thorough Indian understanding. So that focus is also there. In that way, we also kind of make sure that you're grounded, you're rooted, and you're well equipped to kind of face the world. So this is how we kind of framed our international studies program and its curriculum. I'll come to this part a little later, this particular slide. But to give you a kind of an understanding of how much interesting this discipline is, or the coursework is, the kind of assignments we have are both research oriented, research intensive, as well as activity oriented as well. For instance, posters, presentations. Right now, next year would be American presidential elections. So if for instance, if I have this one particular course called Introduction to International Relations, that's a first year course, where I'm already planning that I'll give this particular assignment to those students. That they will have to prepare a campaign poster for, at that point of time, whoever is going to be the candidates. Vivek Ramaswamy, if you're regularly following news, you know that an Indian origin candidate is already kind of going through the process. And maybe the assignment would be to make a campaign poster for Vivek Ramaswamy and his party. So we regularly kind of incorporate assignments like movie reviews and literature reviews, etc., etc., because it's also our understanding, and I would say our open-mindedness, that learning comes from multiple sources. It's not just from the textbooks or from the classroom. Your learning can happen from multiple sources, including films, watching documentaries, reading a fictional work can give you so much understanding of so the nuances of lived experiences of the people. So that's the kind of assignments that we give to the students. The research papers are obviously the one of the core aspect of the evaluation. Sometimes there would be photo essay. Sometimes we ask students to write response paper, policy paper, etc., etc. At the same time, it's not just about giving assignments, but we also organize a lot of in-class activities. We invite faculty or experts from outside, external experts, to give guest lectures. Debates would be there. I mean, that's a regular feature of most of our courses. There would be role play sections. There would be, students would have to make websites organizations, for instance, because we also want you to be equipped with, or you to have both hard skill and soft skill to face the um, world of careers as well. So it's not just like, we are thinking in those terms. That's also the reason why I have mentioned that, for that matter, we are very futuristic. We So this is kind of an example that I want to show. This is one of the assignment that I have given to my students. This is a film review and a book review assignment. So usually we give all the guidelines, submission deadline, etc., etc. But at the same time, I mean, one might look at it and think that, oh, this is very easy. You just have to watch a film, read a novel, and write like, a review. No, it's more than that. And that is the right hand side image that you could see on the slide. You could see that there is an academic article written on the same theme of the assignment, which is international relations at the movies, teaching and learning about international politics through film. As I have mentioned, there are multiple ways you can learn. In fact, multiple ways I can teach. So, we are kind of giving that exposure to the students, make them, better equipped to kind of deal with whatever situations that may come in their way in higher studies or even later in career. So we always regularly we give reading suggestions. Some of the course readings are mandatory. Some are for group discussions. Some are for later readings. So we kind of give them. So whatever we discuss in class, we kind of substantiate and support it with ample readings as well. This is one of the recent event this year beginning. Jan, we have organized this particular lecture by Mr. Raja Kartikeya. Raja Kartikeya is a UN official. So he discussed about imagination in diplomacy, and look at the theme. It's very creative in that sense. So this is something which we regularly do. We conduct invited lectures, workshops, etc., etc. Our students do research with us. So if, for instance, if we have a research project, we will be including our students as research assistants, or in whatever capacity they could also be part of the research of the faculty. In that way, they could also learn a lot. And sometimes also what we do as faculties, we publish with our students. So for instance, this is one of the paper that I have published with my student, Dharika Atre. Dharika is right now at University of Geneva doing her PhD. But we have returned this when she was a student at Flame. This was one paper that I have returned with her. So, there is a lot of research opportunity that is there in our offerings. Our alumni, if you look at where all of them are, and some of these details are already there in on Flame website. I mean, all major universities, all prestigious ones, we have our students studying there. Some of them have completed their studies, higher studies, and right now working in very prestigious organizations. And for instance, the picture, this is in fact, this is my first batch at Flame when I joined in 2016. Anisha was my first batch of students. She is right now the India correspondent at Reuters Media House. She's in that sense very well settled, and I'm very happy and proud about what our students are doing in their own respective field areas. As I have mentioned, there are so many broad, I would say, career opportunities if you study international affairs or international studies discipline. This is just to this map is just to give you an idea what all you can explore. So when I send the PPT to all of you, just take a look at it. Think whether any of this is of your interest. It's like it's really like wide range of opportunities is what you could see. I mean, if you're interested in working with business, corporations are there. If you're interested in working with governments, then there are those opportunities. Research is what is your forte, then opportunities for that. If you're interested in legal studies, law, you could think of that. If you want to work with United Nations, if you want to work with UNHCR, refugees, or if you want to be a war reporter. I am talking a lot about war because, since the war has started, I'm just reading about war. So I think I'm right now, it's all about war in my head. That's why I'm taking this war example a lot, I guess. But if you're interested, if you're that adventurous, and if you want to report war, then journalism, that's something which you could go in after doing your bachelor's and master's in international studies. So it's a wide spectrum of career opportunities that is available. Again, this is another slide where I have explained. In fact, I have given some names as well, if any of you are interested to kind of search and find out. I think this is helpful when you think about your higher studies. And if any of you have international studies in your mind, I think, it's a good idea to see what are the options that's available once you finish your bachelor's/master's. It's a never ending list, by the way. So I try to include, I try to kind of categorize it and try to kind of give you as many as options that you could think of and look at. But then this isn't an exhaustive list, by the way. Anything and everything, in fact, can be sort of looked at from international studies perspective. That's the broadness that I have discussed in the very beginning. But at the same time, for all of that, you need certain hard skills and soft skills, as I have mentioned in our courses. That is something which we try to, impart. We help students to not only have hard skills like writing or presentations or reading or etc., language skills, for instance, but we also kind of train our students that for standing out in whichever area that you're going in, you need to have so soft skills as well. So that is something which we also kind of included in our pedagogy, and we regularly, as I have told you, through all the events that we regularly organize and conduct, in class and outside class events, we have an edge. Our students have an edge. And the students who have graduated from FLAME, right now studying in all those prestigious universities globally and in the global business world and media world and elsewhere. I think that's also because of we are really um, happy about and proud of our edge that we are having. It's a constant process that we kind of, I would say, take up with the students to make them well equipped to face the world. It's a very complicated, yes, it's a very complicated discipline in the sense of the broadness of it, and but then the excitement of learning it, excitement of knowing better the world that we live in. That's something very different. And I can go on and on and on because I'm, as I told you, I'm really excited about this discipline. This is something which has become part of me, I would say. So I think you shouldn't be worried about international studies if you have genuine interest about world affairs from from different points of view. I think international studies is one area that you could explore. So please keep calm and think about exploring international relations better. Before kind of winding it up and going to the next session, which is question answers, I just wanted to show you, something which our students have created. I told you that we kind of make sure that the students are also having soft skills, right? So one of this is one of my course assignment again, that students have to create a website. So this website, I hope you could see the website. Arushi, can you?
Yes, ma'am. I will
Okay,
share
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Just give me a minute.
So maybe video we can share a little later. Let me first show the website.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Sure.
So this website.
Ma'am, it's not visible yet.
It's
So
not visible.
no.
What are you?
I think you will have to stop sharing the screen once and then reshare the website.
Okay. Let me do that. What about now?
Yes, ma'am. Now it's visible.
Yeah. So this is one of the assignment that I have given for this European Studies course, where students have to prepare a website where they could kind of talk about regional integration models and European Union and GCC. These are organizations in the system. I mean, it could be easily a research paper, but we have decided that we'll do something very creative, and this is the creative output that our students have prepared. So this is the website that they have created. The first page is all about very brief introduction of what the topic is about, etc., etc. Then the next page is more like very deep articles, short articles about again the topic of their assignment, where also look at the designing and color combinations and the way they have done it. So if you click on one particular link, let me see. So that will take you to this particular article, which is part of their part of their assignment. So they have all of this. This looks very professional for that matter. All the details that I have asked for in the assignment. And this is something which we also do at Flame, where the assignments are also not just to strengthen your writing skills and presentation skills, but also your practical skills of um, you know um, practical skills that's needed in the future, current and future professional spaces. Arushi, can you share the video?
Yes, ma'am. Sure. One second.
Yeah. So we'll show you a short video as well, created by our students as part of one of the assignment. So again, this is what I have mentioned, yeah, I could see the screen.
I hope it's visible. I think it's 1 second.
Yeah. This is what I have mentioned, we use multimedia technologies in the classroom. Yeah.
Shall I play it, ma'am?
Yeah, play. And seek a little bit. We don't have to kind of show the entire video. Yeah, you can maybe where the dialogue starts. Seek a little bit more. Yeah.
So, what do you guys think? I think we will know if we are being colonized.
Respectfully, did you guys know when you were being taken as slaves?
No, but you very well knew it, buddy.
Huh. Okay, let's just cut to the chase. We will invest $55 billion across various platforms, a little for hunger, a little for healthcare, and the bare minimum in infrastructure.
China has already...
Maybe we can post it here.
In the last...
Yeah. So again, you can stop sharing as well. So again, this is a kind of research that we do before creating something like this, a video, or it's more like a role play kind of an assignment. The best of these kind of creative assignments, as we have seen and we have experienced, it's kind of a tested model, I would say, is that when you do learn by doing, that would be having a more impact on you. So the class, again, the whole curriculum delivery of it is very exciting. It's very lively all the time. So that's in general about international studies and international studies at Flame. I hope I could give you some broad understanding. See, again, it's a very, broad area, vast area that we are discussing. So finishing it in 1.5 hours is slightly tricky business, but I hope I could give you some insights to what international studies is and how we offer it at Flame. But again, as I have mentioned, later also, if you have any questions, anything that you feel like, having clarity about this discipline, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll share the PPT. I'll share my email address as well. Arushi, we can take the questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Sorry, just a second.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. I'll read and answer. I think that's easy. Yeah.
Yes.
So one of the question is, how will a sector like banking use international studies? Okay, so think about it. There are these international uh, financial institutions. It's called Bretton Woods institutions, World Bank, IMF, etc., etc. Right? So there are international regulations to function national banks, for instance. Or I mean, I'm thinking that the student who asked this question would be from that finance background. So you might be knowing that there are these currency reserves and gold reserves, etc., etc. Uh, the way in which how the global finance economy works, to have a better understanding of international studies, help you to have much better understanding of banking sector or financial sector or trade sector. I can give you an example, and I think that will clarify maybe your question. Think about it. The financial crisis. If a financial crisis is happening, that's going to affect the banking sector. Many a times, the reason for the financial crisis is not just economic factors, but also the political factors and sometimes the socio-cultural factors as well. Think about it. When war happens, obviously the economy will be hard hit. We have seen petrol's, diesel's price hiking, especially when there are conflicts happening in the world. So there is this political dimension, there is this economic dimension, there is this financial dimension to all of this. So when you understand why certain changes in the or else certain developments in the banking sector happens due to certain other factors, non-financial factors. I think studying international studies will give you that kind of a holistic, broader understanding of how the banking sector work itself, both global banking sector as well as the national banking sector. So you could very well connect these areas, and that's what is the specific specialization course that I have mentioned within the international studies, international political economy. IPE is what we call it. International political economy is about international trade, international finance, international banking, all of that. It's connectable. Next question is, what kind of corporate opportunities are possible? I already have shared, in that PPT. In fact, I have mentioned those as well, like in the corporate field. So if you look at this particular PPT, slide, you could see that MNCs. You could work in MNCs because most of the MNCs are looking for security analysts. And what security analysts do is, we know that all companies wanted to expand globally, right? To expand, you have to make sure that the company is going to be profitable wherever they are expanding. There shouldn't be losses. So for that, they should know what are the legal system in those countries, whether those countries secured, safe to invest. Yeah, think about a place where there is volatility, there is instability. Might not be a good idea to invest or expand your company to that particular region or country. So this is this is something which all companies are interested in, to analyze risk in the world business, to analyze security in terms of business related operations, etc., etc. And international studies scholars are trained in that to analyze the situation that's there in the world. So I think that way, yes. What kind of job profiles across industries require? Oh, that's again, the PPTs, all the PPTs that is there, in fact, will give you that idea. I would say, for instance, I can take this one particular sector, which is journalism. As I have mentioned, it's not just war journalism, okay? It's not just war reporting. But then think about writing about the global affairs, events that is happening. If you are interested in journalism, then that would be an interesting area to look at. Or you can have your own, you can start your own consultancy firms where you will be the CEO, you will be the consultant of several of these organizations and industries, etc., etc. Take a good look at the PPT. all the kind of, job listings that, not really job listings, but the areas that, that I have identified where after bachelor's and master's in IS you can explore. Marketing can be combined with IS. Yes, very well. I think, think about the marketing strategies of the firm. Marketing strategies are not created out of void or vacuum. It's always target, again, think about any product for that matter. That product would be targeted to a specific community. If it is, say, cosmetics and jewelries and stuff, we know that the market is much more focusing on targeting women for that matter. I'm not saying that there are no, products for men. No, that's not what I'm mentioning. What I'm saying is, like, you could see that, there are always these specific targets. I mean, anti-tanning or whitening creams would be more in South Asia, you will see, right? So you have to understand the culture. You have to understand the kind of, the situation, the social situation of the markets that you are pitching your product. So yes, IS and marketing, great choice, especially for marketing. International studies will give you such insights so that your strategies can be really effective and to the point. I think it's a great combination. Can BBA communication management along with IS as a minor could be a course which may help you for an international placement, or maybe, oh yes, that's where, this BBA communication management, that's where print journalism, electronic journalism, also media, visual media, all of that is being, covered in that particular sector. Also, there are specific courses within international studies where we have global media studies within international, studies discipline. So that's something which you could explore. What opportunities are there in the journalism field? I already have addressed that. Does languages play? Oh, yes. So this is mandatory. Oh, maybe that's also the reason why I didn't really mention it. But part and parcel of international studies is learning a couple of languages, especially German, Mandarin, French. Some of these languages will really give you that edge when you apply for jobs or when you apply for universities for further studies, etc., etc. Because yes, we are international studies, area. Then obviously your language skill should also be international, right? It's a given. Yes. I am also planning to do short-term courses in business analysis. Will this help? Yes, I already have mentioned this. International business, global business, international trade policies, international economic policies, financial policies, all of this is connected to international studies. So very well, yes. Can we do IS as a minor while doing? Okay, so yes, that's a great combination actually, because again, as I have mentioned, we have a specific field within international studies, which is international political economy. That's a specific economics course within international studies. The only difference is it deals with international economics, not national economics. And it's a very interesting combination in the sense that, see, you will have then two edges. One is the edge that economics is as a subject is giving you, as well as international studies. So a couple of courses can be very well, I would say, very well paired with international studies. Economics is one of them, public policy is one of them, psychology is one of them, digital marketing is one of them, business, all of that, yes. And obviously, if you have an interest in journalism, writing, editing, etc., then literary and cultural studies as well. So it's a wide variety of, I would say, courses and opportunities that is out there. I really would want all of you to kind of explore those options. And at any point of time, anything that you would like to discuss, please feel free to write to me. I'm again and again saying this is because, this is the very first engagement that we are having, and unfortunately this is in in the virtual mode, so I really can't. This is more like a one-way conversation, and I'm not very used to this. Like our classes, we have this constant discussion and debate and conversation that's going on. So that's also the reason why I was keep on calling Arushi that, you know, something or the other. We are more used to that. Since in this platform, that's one limitation, that, you know, the two-way interaction is very limited. You might be thinking that it might not be proper to write to me or anything. No, please do. I would be happy to help you in any which ways. Wish you all the best for your studies, your exams, your future courses, all of that, and I hope to see you all, you know, at the places where you would want to be. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Arushi, for helping me moderating the session. Pradyumna, Roshni, thank you so much. That's from my end.
Thank you, ma'am. I think there are a few more questions. I'm not sure if
okay.
we have the time for it or not.
I
Will
think we
be
have
okay?
6 more minutes, so it should be fine. It should be fine. We have 6 more minutes.
All right. So
Share- okay,
there's
well,
few in the chat box as well.
okay.
One of them is, what are the essential skills and qualities that someone studying IR should possess?
Okay, quality central skills, I would say, see, you should be, it's not a skill, but I would say it's a life skill, it's a soft skill, that you should be updating yourself about what is happening in the world on a very regular basis. Because we are dealing with all of those issues, right? So you should be updated about it. That's, even though it's not really a skill, but it's a soft skill. So that's one thing. Be updated about the world, read newspaper, not physical ones. I know that, like, you know, many times your generation, it's not your habit, but you have your phone and all the applications in it. So please download BBC, Guardian, Al Jazeera, Hindu, Indian Express, or even In Short will give you those headlines, right? So keep yourself updated. I would say that is the first thing. If you are interested in international studies, you have to be updated yourself to the current happenings in the world. So keep yourself updated. Second is, again, it's a soft skill, reading. You have to read, okay? Not newspaper articles, but you have to read books. You have to read journals. But what is interesting is you also have to watch a lot of films and documentaries and even series. So I have this one particular course, yeah, Refugees and Post-Migration Human Security. That's the title of the course. And it deals with refugee related matters. So we have this one viewing suggestion for that particular course, which is a limited series on Netflix. So you can explore that as well. It's called Stateless. Stateless is a limited series which is on Netflix. So that is one of the mandatory viewing for our course. So it's that's another thing, reading. Lengthier papers, lengthier books, etc., etc. That's a skill that you should be having, a soft skill that you should be having. Then obviously writing and presentation and all of that. And again, I don't know how much you're advanced in using AI and other technical, aspects. That is a great skill, I would say. And also fair understanding of analytical mathematical, statistical, analytical skill would be great. But then again, at this point, you don't have to worry about it. Bachelor's is when all of that will be happening. Like, you know, we will be training you in whatever skills that is needed. Yeah, overall, that's it. Arushi, next one.
We'll take one last one and then I'll close the session.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's a combined question. They're
Mhm.
asking mostly about the internship options and the placements in
Okay.
MBA institutes as
Uh-huh.
an IS major.
Yeah, so internships opportunities are there, and we make sure that our students are interning every semester, also during the summer breaks. So some of the places where you can intern is international organizations, as I have mentioned. Couple of our students have done internship in the United Nations office in New Delhi. Couple of them have done their internship in the UNHCR, that is United Nations High Commission for Refugees in Chennai, and a few in Delhi as well. Then there are internships that's by the Ministry of External Affairs. That's Foreign Affairs Ministry. So that you could do. Internships opportunities are also available with think tanks, organizations, like non-governmental organizations. There are maybe, I don't know whether you're familiar with it. There are these organizations called Observer Research Foundation, ORF, in Delhi, in Mumbai as well. There is another organization called Gateway House. So there are a lot of organizations, think tanks that work in this area. Those places you can intern. Now, if you again, depending on your major minor interest, say for instance, if you're interested in banking sector, then obviously you can intern in the banking sector on areas where there is risk analysis department, if that is there. So this is how, but there are internship opportunities. At Flame, we kind of also help students to get opportunities at least once a semester. Usually it's more than once. I mean, our students keep on, while studying, they do online internships as well. And placements is what you have mentioned. Yes. So placements basically, see, one thing which you have to understand is bachelor's in international studies is very foundational level program. So placements opportunities are there. But to be very realistic with you, it's not so much as maybe, some of the other disciplines like finance or, BBA or MBA. That kind of opportunities, it's limited. That's also because of the nature of the discipline. But once you complete your master's, you're well placed, your salary starts, the basic pay starts at 50K. And then, options for promotions. But what is more exciting, if you ask me about that kind of job, is you could travel the world. And most of the time, your travel is being funded by the organization or, So, yeah, that's pretty interesting. I mean, that's why I thought I'll become, the foreign diplomat of India. But that didn't happen because I started teaching while I was doing my PhD. And I realized that this is my passion. I really love having this conversation with students, not just my students, but with all of you as well. So yeah, anything that we should take up?
No, ma'am, no more questions. Thank you so much for coming and informing us all about international relations and international studies at Flame. And it was definitely a very enriching session. I'm sure all the students are satisfied with the question and answers as well.